During the final 9 minutes of the countdown, and we're coming out, we're at T-minus 9 minutes and counting. The launch events are being controlled by the ground launch sequencer now. That has been initiated, and that will be in control up to T-minus 25 seconds when they switch to the onboard redundant set launch sequencer. The ground launch sequencer is a part of the launch processing system and operates by relaying commands to the orbiter's onboard computers, which then report back to the launch processing system that the commands have been executed. The primary job of the computers is to check that all of the launch commit criteria, such as propellant loads, temperatures, pressures, and other measurements, are satisfactory. The primary chase aircraft have taken off. A third T-38 will take off at the T-minus 5 minute mark. The timing of this plane is such a tight window that a 15-second delay would mean that they would not be in the proper position at launch. The sleek T-38 supersonic trainers have such critical timing because of the small fuel load that they carry. T-minus 7 minutes, 52 seconds, and counting. Approximately 40 seconds away from movement of the orbiter access arm. This is the final arm, which was to be moved out of the way to provide for the orbiter to clear the tower properly. This may be a very interesting launch to watch from the standpoint that the orbiter is able to translate slightly horizontally as it begins to lift off, and it also does a roll maneuver which will place it, the orbiter, sort of on its back as it goes towards the proper inclination to the equator. T-minus 7 minutes, 7 seconds, and counting. T-minus 7 minutes and counting, and we have retraction of the orbiter access arm, beginning to move back first away from the orbiter and then to swing away. This was the walkway attached to the service structure and used by the crew to walk to the orbiter. The crew has been advised to lower their helmet visors. Very slow movement by the orbiter access arm. T-minus 6 minutes, 29 seconds, and counting. The crew is beginning the APU pre-start. The start begins at the 5 minute point in the countdown. T-minus 6 minutes, 15 seconds, and counting. The APUs are turbine devices fueled by hydrazine, which provides hydraulic power to change the angle of the engines and the flight surfaces on the orbiter. T-minus 5 minutes, 59 seconds, and counting. Pilot Bob Crippen had begun that APU pre-start, which started about 48 seconds from now. The development flight instrumentation, which measures the stresses on the orbiter during flight, have been turned on, and recorders store information for playback after landing. T-minus 5 minutes, 30 seconds, mark and counting. Pilot Bob Crippen has signified the auxiliary power units are ready to be started. T-minus 5 minutes, 15 seconds, and counting. Coming up on the 5 minute point, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. T-minus 5 minutes and counting. We have had a go for APU start. APU start is in work. This is a start sequence. The final chase plane is taken off from Patrick Air Force Base. T-minus 4 minutes, 42 seconds, and counting. T-minus 4 minutes, 30 seconds, and counting. Once we get the APU start, we have a total of 12 minutes of hydrazine supply for running the APUs prior to a liftoff. Everything going very smoothly in this count. The APU start is complete. T-minus 4 minutes, 10 seconds, and counting. As preparation for main engine ignition, the main fuel valve heaters have been turned off. T-minus 3 minutes, 57 seconds and counting. The final helium purge on the shuttle main engine has been started in preparation for engine start. The liquid oxygen replenish system has been turned off in preparation for pressurization of the tanks for the launch. T-minus 3 minutes, 35 seconds and counting. The elevon, speed brake, and rudder are being moved through a pre-programmed pattern to assure that they'll be ready for use in flight. T-minus 3 minutes, 20 seconds and counting. The shuttle is now on internal power. However, the fuel cells are still receiving their fuels from the ground support system for one more additional minute. Coming up on T-minus 3 minutes, T-minus 3 minutes and counting. The engine gimbal or movement check is underway to assure they're ready for flight control. T-minus 2 minutes, 52 seconds. The LOX valve on the external tank has been closed and pressurization has begun. After the tank is pressurized, the hold capability is limited to 3 minutes, 36 seconds. T-minus 2 minutes, 40 seconds and counting. The fuel cell ground supply of oxygen and hydrogen has been terminated, and the vehicle is using its onboard supply. T-minus 2 minutes, 25 seconds and counting. T-minus 2 minutes, 15 seconds. The pressure in the LOX tank is at flight pressure. Coming up on just 2 minutes away from launch. T-minus 2 minutes mark and counting. The liquid hydrogen vent valve has been closed and flight pressurization is underway. T-minus 1 minute, 50 seconds and counting. Chuck Hannon has just said smooth sailing, baby, to astronauts John Young and Bob Crippen. T-minus 1 minute, 35 seconds and counting. T-minus 1 minute, 20 seconds and counting. We can see the purges of the main engines as we prepare for ignition. T-minus 1 minute, 10 seconds and counting. Liquid hydrogen tank is at flight pressure. T-minus 1 minute mark and counting. The firing system for the sound suppression water will be armed just a couple seconds from now. It has been armed. T-minus 45 seconds and counting. T-minus 40 seconds and counting. The development flight instrumentation recorders are on. T-minus 35 seconds. We're just a few seconds away from switching to the redundant sense sequencer. T-minus 27 seconds. We have gone for redundant set sequencer start. T-minus 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15, 14, 13, T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. We've gone for main engine start. We have main engine start. America's first space shuttle. And the shuttle has cleared the tower.
34, Mach 2 bar EA.
Roger. Columbia, Houston, you're go at throttle up.
Roger, go at throttle up.
Roger, Columbia, on the nice ride. You're lofting a little bit, so you'll probably be slightly high at staging.
1 minute 45 seconds coming up on go, no go.
Columbia, you're negative seats.
That call up says that Columbia, the altitude is too high for ejection seat use. Mark.
Columbia, you're go for SRB step.
2 minutes 4 seconds, standing by for SRB SEP confirmation.
Roger on the SEP, Columbia.
Mark, 2 minutes 20 seconds, confirm solid rocket booster SEP.
Takeoff initiate.
Mark, 2 minutes 30 seconds, on-board guidance is converging as programmed. Columbia is now steering for its precise window in space for main engine cutoff. Mark, 2 minutes 40 seconds. Columbia now 39 nautical miles in altitude, 42 nautical miles downrange. Mark, 2 minutes 50 seconds. Columbia,
you're looking a little hot. All your calls will be a little early.
Okay.
Columbia now has 2-engine rotor capability.
Good here.
Mark,
Roger.
3 minutes. Young and Crippen really moving out now. Velocity now reading 6,200 feet per second. Mark, 3 minutes 15 seconds. Columbia now 51 nautical miles in altitude, 66 nautical miles downrange. Velocity now reading 6,500 feet per second. Mark, 3 minutes 30 seconds. Columbia now 55 nautical miles in altitude, 78 nautical miles downrange. Mark, 3 minutes 40 seconds, standing by for a return status check and mission control by Flight Director Neil Hutchinson. Columbia given a green to continue. Mark, 3 minutes 55 seconds, standing by for a press D'Amico, which says Columbia should lose one engine.
Columbia, stand by, press D'Amico.
Columbia continues flying forward, coming up on negative return.
Press for Miko.
Roger, press for Miko.
Mark, 4 minutes 8.
Columbia, stand by for negative return. Mark, negative return. And your revamp is good.
Mark, 4 minutes 25 seconds. With that,
We can confirm it.
with that call up from
Okay,
Capcom Brandenstein, Columbia now committed to space travel. Young and Crippen can no longer turn around and return to the launch site.
Columbia, Houston, we're showing both ohms PC transducers off scale high.
Mark, 4 minutes 45 seconds. The flash evaporator is activated on board to cool Columbia.
We're setting off scale low here.
Roger, stand by. We'll keep an eye on it.
Mark, 4 minutes 56 seconds. Columbia is lofting early in the second stage, is now being taken out of the trajectory as programmed.